Hey, what's going on? It's been a minute. The reason I was able to upload so consistently over the past few weeks is that my wife was actually on the night shift for the last few weeks, so I've had some alone time in order to sit down and actually record these voiceovers. Um, Part of this video is going to be taken from a live stream that I did, I think it was last Thursday. Thank you for showing up if you did, but if not, let me know if you want me to upload that full hour and a half long stream. It was pretty brutal. We lost a lot of team members, and I'll be going over some of those losses here. Today's video is going to cover through this really long gauntlet, and then a couple of other battles on the other side, as well as a couple of encounters. So let's get right into it.
Okay. Cool fish. Please go for it. That shouldn't matter, right? Nope. Please don't flinch. Alright, we're steering.
As my past self put it quite elegantly, the plan here was to lead Psywave the Claydol into the Quillfish, and then have it rapid spin away the toxic spikes that I wished Quillfish would have gone for. Obviously, we don't get that, and we get the most unfortunate outcome, the 20% waterfall flinch, which, as I had stated, means we are now steering pretty darn hard. I figure my best play from here is to go into a pre-burned workup for some good facade damage. I'm pre-burned because I want facade to do extra damage, and just in case I had to swap into toxic spikes, I wanted to ensure that I would take less damage. After the facade, Quillfish is super likely to go for explosion, so I just eat that up with Wrap, the Steelix, who cannot be poisoned, and then swap back in to work up to avoid a burn. I have an Oranberry there. That was because I didn't want to waste a Citrus Berry should my plan actually come to fruition, and I don't need to steer quite so hard. So if I'd had 25% extra health as opposed to just a flat 10, this could have put us in a better position. Facade here actually doesn't KO Vaporeon despite being 140 base power plus stab. So I'm trying to figure out my best play in order to prevent this Vaporeon from dunking on me. So I go into Empoleon, and I'm just really hoping I don't get burned. Of course, I get burned. None of my moves do any damage to it. I guess I could go for some Flash Cannon, Spadef drop chances, but now that I'm burned, I definitely shouldn't be using Brick Break. I think at this point, I was really tilted. I'd already lost another member of the squad, Nidoqueen, in a fight prior to this, and I'm really just trying to prevent this Vaporeon from setting up Substitute on me too much. So my best answer is to swap into Thunder, who has to unfortunately take Toxic Spikes plus Scald plus Poison damage plus another Scald. And then Discharge doesn't KO, but it does get the Paralysis, so that's really nice. I'm checking to see if I'm dead to one more proc of Poison here. Not... Yeah, okay, good. I'm not. So I determined to discharge and then just let Clawitzer come out. It's going to go for random move, and thinking really hard of what to do, I need Honchkrow for what's in the back. So I just determined that my best switch is actually into Claydol. Actually takes an Aura Sphere pretty nicely, and then I'm just dead to random move between Water Move and Dark Pulse, so unfortunately it's Psywave who has to give its life. So the last one up here is, after we KO the Clawitzer with a Brave Bird, is this Defiant Empoleon. Kind of wish that I had Defiant on my Empoleon, but hey, Clear Body is actually pretty good. So just here, checking damage ranges. I need to go for a knockoff, get rid of the leftovers, take a Flash Cannon. Thankfully it didn't crit, although I don't think it quite mattered. And then proc the Oranberry. Trying to determine if I have a safer play than just risking the Sucker Punch range, but I get it. I think at that range it was a pretty decent roll to KO. Luckily we got it, and here is the aftermath of that fight. RIP to Claydol. Luckily Thunder survives the poison damage, because you can never die from overworld poison in this game. And we've got to put clay doll in the ever-increasing RIP box. Alright, and the last fight of the stream I think was against this guy, Kindler Bernie. Plan was, if I didn't have a Kingdra that was shite, Octazooka would have been a much better play, but I didn't anticipate this Rotom actually going for a Nasty Plot. So now I've got a +2 freaking Rotom Heat to deal with, and I'm frantically swapping through my team. I know it's never going to go for an Overheat, and the Octazooka I used, which actually did get an accuracy drop, was immediately erased because of the Rotom's Wet Herb. So looking at a really rough position here, Kingdra definitely cannot take a +2 Thunderbolt here. So I'm just quickly, as you'll see in the live form, just running through that calculator. And fortunately, Kingdra does indeed live the range, which brings out the Simisear, going for a random move. My best swap into this thing is either Nidoqueen or Nidoking. I actually determined to go into the Nidoking on the Fire Blast, which does too much damage, and I believe now will see the KO onto Nidoking. So, now we're gonna swap into something else to take a hit. And this turn, it's Nidoqueen. Old Toxic Spike, take a Toxic Spike, or a Fire Blast, live it, get the Earth Power, do a ton of damage, and then it raises its special attack sharply thanks to the Starf Berry, which I was hoping to avoid, and now Acrobatics is a KO. So another death, Nidoqueen, but thankfully not too impactful. Can just take out the remaining HP with Kabutops' Aqua Jet. Recently renamed the Kabutops to Waterfall from Slash because I already named Ursa Ring Slash. Gotta deal with the Skuntank now. It's last mon, so it can never go for Explosion. But the issue is it's got Fire Blast or Flamethrower, so I can't necessarily go into Steelix. So I know I'm outsped. I'm going to take a knockoff, which gets rid of my Oranberry, but Leech Life just heals me back pretty much up to full, and then I take the Explosion because, just kidding, I lied, there's a Druddigan in the back. Not too threatening to the rest of the team. Luckily for me, I picked up a pretty nice Clefable in Fall Arbor Town. Not the best encounter there, obviously, but it's a Fairy type, so it's always good. I take the Glare. I have an Oranberry as opposed to a Cherry Berry, which would have helped cure the paralysis, but for some reason I guess I didn't anticipate that. I don't really know. I think at this point in the stream I was pretty tired and pretty tilted, but the good news is Wrap, the Steelix, can pretty easily seal this one up. So just going to go for a bad Tantrum, Stomping Tantrum, take a Glare and the Paralysis and the Rocky Helmet and shed the Sharp Skin ability, whatever that's called. So yeah, that sucks. And now we're back to regularly scheduled, pre-recorded battles that aren't live, so the quality is a little bit better. There's not that shitty MS Paint attempt counter going on in the background. Opportunity now is we need this Bronzong to trick us. It's Iron Ball, so we give it a Cherry Berry, and we get an Iron Ball, and then we can just knock off for the KO because we still have speed. Sirfetch'd comes out and sees a Meteor Assault, so I swap into Acrobatics on that one, get chunked down to about half health, and then heal up on the turn it has to recover, and then Acrobatics is a clean one-shot. I think that was a range, but I had a contingency plan. So in comes the Drampa, go to Wrap. I'm actually using the Paralysis to my benefit here by going for Gyro Ball, which powers it up the damage, procs the Berserk, but Clefable doesn't care because it has Unaware. Now, Clefable baits in Dugtrio, so something you need to be wary of. If I didn't have the Shed Shell on Clefable, it would be a little bit of a sticky situation, so I'm able to pivot into Acrobatics on the Earthquake for free, and then just KO with Flare Blitz, which brings out the Eldegoss, and I can chain a KO with Flare Blitz. Alright, moving on to the Gauntlet here that takes you through Meteor Falls. I spent probably a good 2 hours cooking up a line for these 7 fights. And I think I've got some really safe plays. There are some really, really tricky mons here, including the Gliscor on the second guy, but we'll talk about that later. Grab the ground gem, just checking for other miscellaneous items, and now we are in the Gauntlet, so we're locked in. Aspir Berry on the Nido King, because it's going to go for Ice Punch, and lives Drill Run thanks to the Shuka Berry, and there's the freeze, so thank you, Aspir Berry. Next out is the Poltergeist, which if you don't have a good answer to, can really, really screw you over with the Shed Shell plus White Herb combo. Luckily for us, we've got a really good Haunch Crow and tank a Shadow Ball, and Sucker Punch is just a clean KO. Moving on to the next guy, who's got a Steelix, followed by a Relicanth, and lastly a Gliscor with Poison Heal. I don't know why I'm taking my sweet dear time here, just checking some damage ranges last minute. Now, unlike the Wind Straits Gauntlet, you're actually able to heal up your guys in between fights, so just make sure you're stocked up on healing items. You should be good to go. The strategy here is I'm hoping we don't have to deal with Stealth Rock from the Steelix. It's a sturdy set, so you can't just KO it. Yeah, I'm just topped up on healing items. I just gave every mon a Citrus Berry because there's nothing here that requires a certain item for a damage range. Really just hoping Steelix doesn't go for Earthquake into Empoleon, but if it does, it's totally fine. So Scald here would have KO'd, doesn't. Proxy E a Papa Berry, and there's the Stealth Rock. So I get the Scald range, the Scald KO, and now out comes Gliscor. This never kills, except I think it has an 18% chance to KO Empoleon from if it's a crit. So we were always safe there, and then Empoleon can just kill all 3 guys. Usually you've got a grass type that can help greatly with this fight, but Gliscor usually requires something specific to handle it, so that pretty much always takes up a slot. Got really lucky with this one. Alright, next up is the guy with the Ferrothorn, Cradilly, and then he's got a Last. So use the tutor to teach Thrash the Fire Punch move. And I actually got protective pads. This is the first time I've ever used this item in order to prevent myself from taking Iron Barb's chip. If you have a special fire type attacker, then you don't have to worry about that, but mine died. So that's really good. Out comes Cradilly, never dead to an Earth Power crit, and then Flash Cannon is just a clean 2-hit KO. 2 Earth Power crits in a row do KO me, but that's not real. And then lastly comes out the Whiscash. It sees Earthquake as a KO, so free swap into Haunch Crow with the Muscle Band equipped. Knockoff into Brave Bird is just a clean 2-shot. Here I was checking if I did indeed need to go for Brave Bird. I was a little bit worried that the turn prior it would have gone for Dragon Dance, which I was expecting it to because it then outspeeds and can deal even more damage. But because it only went for the Aqua Tail, I think it was, that means I am really safe to just go for a Brave Bird here and take the KO for this fight. Alright, with Ferrothorn guy out of the way, we can make our way into Meteor Falls. Just check that my Repellent is active. I don't want to get the encounter here yet because we're still in the middle of the Gauntlet and I'm not taking any unnecessary risks. Usually I fish here to get the guaranteed Magikarp into Gyarados combo, but if you have the luxury of being able to delay, you can find a lot of really great encounters here. Low rate encounters here include Larvitar and Pupitar, which would be fantastic because we're just one off the level cap of Tyranitar. You can also find Excadrill here, Aggron, some other stuff. I'm not really sure. I usually just go for the Magikarp. Just going to grab some miscellaneous items, including the Pixie Plate, and then I think there was something else that I grabbed, but no biggie. And now it's time for the Black Belt, and then there's this guy who is another pretty member of this Gauntlet, pretty scary member of this Gauntlet. He's got a Mienshao that's really fast. Luckily, we've got Talonflame for that. But then he's got a real demon in the back, which is the fluffy Beware. So gotta really make sure you have a plan for that. In fact, the normal resist is quite key because it has retaliate. So getting right into it, acrobatics is just a clean one shot, and then it sees a retaliate for a one shot onto acrobatics. Swap into Empoleon for that, and now it sees a clean kill with hammer arm into Empoleon, so it's back into acrobatics, hoping for a flame body proc. We get it. If we didn't get it, my plan was to then go for Will-O-Wisp. I figure a 30% chance to proc flame body and then an 85% chance to get it with Will-O-Wisp means this was a pretty safe play, and in fact my safest play. Now it's just going to spam counter. I've only ever made it to this point in the game one other time, and was actually where I lost a Talonflame on that attempt because I forgot it had counter, and I just kept attacking it for some reason. I had the game paused there for a little bit to calc if I could live a crit play rough into counter. Good news is I do. Bad news is I don't crit, so it's all good. Don't have to worry about that, but now I am certainly dead to just a regular play rough counter, or perhaps a high roll. Proc the Citrus Berry thanks to the burn, and luckily just swap into Kingdra, who doesn't have any physical moves, so it's going to go for Hammer Arm, but after the Intimidate and the burn, not too much of a threat. So that guy is also pretty difficult. Coming right up, we've got another fighting type specialist, which is nice for our Talonflame, who really eats here. No rolls to KO with acrobatics, but it's pretty much guaranteed to go for Octolock to lower my defenses each turn, and then not allow me to swap in or out. Good news is that effect goes away after you KO the mon that's Octolocking you. So here the AI goes into Breloom, since it sees that I have killing rolls on both Breloom and Hitmontop, and I'm faster than both. It just goes into the next one in line. Now, out comes the Hitmontop. I swap into Stoutland for the Intimidate on the Fake Out. Shades of that brawly fight in the first video, and get rewarded with some Life Orb chip on it. Triple Axle here, even at -1, does a ton. Crazy I didn't get a single Flame Body proc, but we got one last fight, so that's fine. Now it's going for Mach Punch because it sees I have a KO. So I actually swap into Nidoking, continually just chipping it down, and it sees that Triple Axle is a KO, which is quad resisted by Empoleon. And now it sees a large chunk of damage with Mach Punch, so just swap back into Nidoking, get a Poison Point proc, so now it's dying even faster. The reason I'm switching around just a bunch like this is because no one single mon at this point can outspeed and KO without risking its life, save for acrobatics, so I'm trying to find a safe way to get into acrobatics. There goes Nidoking. Luckily, take it down after just pivoting around. So that's another demon down. Next up, we've got the gal with the Mr. Rhyme and the Cofagrigus. Muscle Band Flare Blitz is just a KO cleanly onto it with acrobatics. This Cofagrigus really can't touch acrobatics, so I just flame Flare Blitz excuse me, for a little bit of damage, and then my plan is to take it out with Honchkrow. So I get some pretty decent chip. Check a couple ranges here just to make sure that, nothing terrible can happen. I actually decided to stay in and roost, hoping to proc Hex. I think as I slowly roost up, my damage ticks higher and higher. So just hoping to bait Hex for Honchkrow to swap into since it's resisted. Decided that's actually kind of risky, maybe not a good idea, so I just swap into Honchkrow and luckily take the resisted Hex anyway. Then it's just a simple knockoff into knockoff, and that is the second to last fight down. Right, in the last fight of the Gauntlet before you get your rewards of a Citrus Berry and Lumberry, pretty easy Heatmore KO with Soft Sand boosted Drill Run, and now it's either Surf or Psychic for a one-shot at a Nidoking. Unfortunately, it's Surf onto Honchkrow, but I was only dead to crit, I think, 6% of the time, so safe, which brings out Durant. Luckily, Honchkrow HP doesn't matter. I wasn't baiting a specific move from the Durant onto Empoleon, but now that we're in, it's post-Scald. I was actually surprised to see it did that much damage. Aqua Jet is a clean pickup from here. Next out is the Zangoose. It's last, and this thing is a bloody demon. I picked it up in my draft league recently. Really, really good. And something quite interesting happens here. Nidoking actually procs Poison Point from taking the close combat, so I'm not actually sure if that gives it its Toxic Boost ability, or if it needs to be Toxic Poisoned. That turn I was expecting close combat onto Stoutland, not Facade. I think at -1 that's like a 30% roll that Acrobatics just straight up dies to a Facade there. So a little terrifying, but thankfully unpunished. And now that the Zangoose is -1 defense and has taken 36% from poison, it's got no priority, which is a noob move from Collector Hector here. If it had quick attack, that would have been more devastating for my Talonflame. So that is the Gauntlet finished. We get 17 citrus berries for our efforts, sucks. 14 lumberries is even worse. After a couple encounters, including Gyarados and an Arcanine from this route, we got this Torkoal Sun double battle. Out comes Comet Punch for his debut. Tank a stupid Grass Whistle, which puts my Acrobatics to sleep. It's supposed to be a Chesto Berry. I messed up and put a Citrus Berry on there. But Tailwind turn 1 allows me to go ahead and wake up and Flare Blitz. Nope, that doesn't happen. Knocks off my Citrus Berry, and I can Encore the Torkoal into Stealth Rock. So don't have to worry about that side of the field, thankfully. And we've got 2 grass-resistant Mons out. So hoping I wake up here. Nope, no dice. Grass Gem boosted Solar Blade does a ton of damage, and then Flare Blitz is just going to one-shot Leafeon anyway, so I figure I'll just get some damage into the Torkoal. Bug Buzz again. Really need you to wake up here, buddy. What can we do? We can Encore it into the Solar Blade, but it's actually still faster than Comet Punch, so we lock it into Knockoff. Thankfully, I wake up. I think I had to there. Get the Roost off, and now I can Roost again. Continually Encore the Torkoal down, just making absolutely sure it can't go for any moves that will take anyone's life. So now that we're actually faster than the Leafeon, nope, just kidding, Tailwind wasn't up. But it wasn't able to kill there unless it gets knockoff crit. Re-establish Tailwind. Flare Blitz is a one-shot onto the Venusaur. Thankfully not dead to recoil there, thank God. Unfortunately, Encore ends, but that's actually really good because it allows us to roost up Talonflame again. If this thing ever dies, I think I'm just going to reset the run because it's pretty heavily invested into with the 2 scales at this point. Just keep Bug Buzzing. I want to keep Tailwind established for the Charizard, and Torkoal is still locked into Stealth Rock. So my plan is to Encore the Torkoal in, and then hopefully go for Defog on the turn it dies, but that doesn't happen. I wasn't sure if Scald would have KO'd there, so I just play the safe route and just take it out. Swap into Kabutops on the Fire move or Air Slash that was coming its way, and with Tailwind still up, Rock Slide is able to cleanly one-shot the Charizard. Alright, that was the last battle for this video. Again, this split is just absolutely insane. So I figured I would take this time to just kind of show you Fiery Path, grab 2 TMs, as well as an encounter. We get Weezing, which is fine. Camerupt is a dupe. Torkoal or Turtonator would have been fine for some more special attacking fire types. Just checking to make sure it doesn't have an explosion move, but actually it does. It's got self-destruct. So this situation just got a whole lot more, oh shit. I just kind of say screw it, hope for the best, shoot a quick ball out. Thank goodness it actually captures. So let's take a look at some of our encounters up to this point. So we've got about a halfway full box 1, not including the Ursaring. It's underleveled because I don't want it to learn any Ursaluna exclusive moves before we have the opportunity to evolve it. Check out these IVs on the Weezing. 0 special attack sucks, yeah, but it's really, really bulky, and the physical attack is actually pretty good. And we can actually, later on in the run, trade it for a Galar Weezing. So while y'all are looking at the the stats in the background, I just wanted to take a quick pulse of where this run is at. After a couple of really heavy losses, it's been pretty demoralizing to play Run and Bun. Usually, I'm really amped to go ahead and get these games in and record them and show them for y'all, but it's just been tougher when my options are so restricted because of stupid play on my end. You know, whether I play too much and burn myself out and don't think about my moves, it can be kind of rough. So I'm gonna do my best to just keep trucking along here and putting these videos out for y'all. If you could continue liking and commenting, again, huge help. Thank y'all so much for watching. Have a great day.